wanted to say that I'm particularly interested to have a little bit of time for questions with the all of these amazing winners. But Tim, after all the hard questions you've asked me from the audience of board meetings over the years, I thought it only maybe appropriate I start with you. But I'm going to ask each of you to weigh in on this question. I really want to go back to the beginning for each of you. I'm really interested for each of you in telling me a little bit about that moment, that instant when you knew the restaurant and food service industry was a place for you, a place where you wanted to be. Why restaurants? Why food? Why this industry, Tim?
Well, it really was a moment of revelation for me, and it was so it's appropriate that Ecolab is the sponsor of this award because it was standing in front of a dish machine in a restaurant. As a kid, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I came from a poor background. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is my hometown, and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but my family didn't know any lawyers. The only lawyer that I knew was Perry Mason. And I started to work in this restaurant as a dishwasher by chance, and it didn't take too long, and it was really like a light bulb went off, like, this is a fantastic place. The chef ended up to be this wonderful guy who became like a second father to me, a real mentor, and it was just a wonderful family. It was so dynamic, and it was clear that we were in the business of making people happy. And I was turned on right then and there, and asked the chef if he would teach me how to cook, that I thought that's what I wanted to do. And he said, no, it's too hard of a business. When we work, everybody else is playing. And of course that made me want to do it even more. And I continued to work for him and just became more and more passionate about it. We have a great industry, as everybody, we're preaching to the choir here. Everybody here knows, but that moment for me started at the dish table.
That's fantastic.
So thank you, Ecolab.
Warren, how about you?
Well, very much as Tim just mentioned, I grew up also in the rural part of Virginia. Both my parents were school teachers. Back then, we were in a segregated area. Schools were segregated. Some restaurants we could not visit. But there was one restaurant that we would be able to go to on a Friday night, and it was a Shoney's. So there was a Shoney's in Portsmouth, Virginia. And sitting there with my parents one night, I said to them, I'd love to own one of these one day. As school teachers, they said, well, you can do anything you want to do if you're willing to work hard, and as long as it makes more money than teaching school. So options were to be a teacher, a preacher, work in the shipyard, or the meatpacking plant, Smithfield, Virginia. So I chose the restaurant business. And ironically, our company started with the acquisition of 31 big boy restaurants from Marriott, 27 of them, which I converted to Shoney's. So it took me a while to get there, but that was the impetus and the start of the company that ultimately paid off.
Absolutely love that. Thank you. It's a great story. Gary.
I ended up in New Orleans to go to college and did my BS in hotel restaurant at UNO, but I had to work to get through college. Mm-hmm. And I took a job as a food runner for an opening restaurant for a family I'd never heard of. Complete ignorance, and dropped a couple of trays. So I quickly got moved to the dish pit, and it was the Commander's Palace side of the Brennan family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, talk about luck, right? And I was in the dish pit, and in walked this lady in this like Gucci gown with beautiful shoes, and she said, "Move over, we're behind." And she worked the dish pit with me for the next 30 minutes. And I was captivated. And it was Ella Brennan. Paul Prudhomme was in the kitchen, Ella Brennan next to me in the dish pit. And I was like, if this lady, the owner, dressed like this, thinks what we're doing here is that important, there's something about this industry I have no clue. And I want to learn more, and I want to learn everything. And that was my introduction to the industry years and years and years and years ago.
That's amazing. I love that. Love that. Jerome, bring us home on this one. How about you?
Growing up in Oakland, there weren't a lot of food options in West Oakland to look to, a couple fast food places, but not sure I saw this as being my career. Had a lot of people invest in me for mentorship after school programs, and one of those had a conference center that I worked at during the summers. You could stay on longer, and I did not want to go home, so I stayed on longer and helped in the dining facility, just bussing tables, blaring music, having fun. And one day, and I wish I knew who this was because I would thank them, someone called in sick from the kitchen. They needed someone to prep vegetables. No idea what I'm doing. I'm in there doing my best not to cut myself. But I see this orchestra of all these different people doing different things, but it all came together and people are smiling and happy. And it was this moment where I realized that we can be the best part of someone's day just by doing our part. You know, they may not realize it. You know, if we messed up the meal, they'd realize it. But when we do our part and we do it well, it can be a beautiful thing. And I think looking back at that moment, I was hooked, and it has definitely impacted my whole career.
That's awesome. Awesome. So the first question I asked you all was really about what attracted you to the industry in the first place. And but you're all here not necessarily because you were attracted to the industry in the first place, but because you've become leaders in the industry, each in your own unique ways. And I'm interested how the hospitality industry really has helped shape your view on leadership and on what makes a successful leader. And Jerome, I'm going to start with you on this one. So, you know, as you went from loud music and trying not to cut yourself to being an amazing leader in the industry, how has the industry you've been in helped shape how you view leadership and what's involved with it?
Yeah, great question. I went away for school, came back to the San Francisco Bay Area to go to San Francisco State. And during that time, having no idea that 2 bachelor's degrees were worth anything in the real world, I took a job as a delivery driver for a bagel shop, 4 a.m. starts, just brutal work. And during that time, I had some directors who were phenomenal, and I can trace back their support to empowering me. And I had some directors that would make my hand shake when they'd reach out to me. And being able to grow and see the different leadership styles and realize that I get to be the leader I want to be. I can be intentional with supporting people with their mental health and their physical well-being, that what I do at work impacts them and what happens at home will impact us. And just being aware of that and doing my best to treat my employees as internal customers, because I want to give them what I want them to give people. Through all that, it's just been this really amazing learning experience where I don't think people are aware, but you can pick the leadership qualities you want to embody, and then you can do those things. It's almost like it can be easy if we let it. So I've enjoyed picking and choosing from the leadership buffet and developing my style over time.
Leadership buffet, that's awesome. Gary, same question. How's this amazing industry? You're next to Ella in the dish pit, and now you are leading an international relief business, but obviously the industry shaped and molded you profoundly along the way. What did you learn? What have you learned about leadership via this industry?
Well, I think there's this responsibility that we all have to acknowledge right away. It carries some weight, what we do. It affects so many people. And I think the best leaders that I've had and the leaders that I want to be back are the ones that give. They're not the leaders that are taking from their staff. They make their staff, they make the people that they're investing in more important than themselves. And that pouring out always returns. It always returns. And I think that's where the leadership really reaches a new level, is when you say, how can I make everybody there better than I was? And that's what I'm trying to do. That's what a lot of people did for me along the way.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Warren?
So leadership, in my opinion, forms the culture of the company versus the culture forming leadership. And I was fortunate enough to work under Dick Marriott as a summer intern and then go into Marriott and watch those two individuals, Dick Marriott and Bill Marriott, develop the culture of the company to follow the practices of their father who founded the company. But they created a very family-driven, very family-oriented culture that was clearly reflective of their leadership style and ultimately ended up as the success of the company, or to the success of the company. So using that example really helped me form my leadership style within the company. I'm always the first one on, or try to get to be the first one on the lot. I've got a fellow chief operating officer, Alex, who's with me today. He always beats me there now. I don't know what, he must sleep there overnight, but one day I'm gonna beat you there, Alex. But, you know, if you're leading in this industry and leading correctly, you don't have to tell anyone your title. You don't have to insist that they call you Mr. or Mrs. If you go in, and I go into our operations quite a bit, if they're comfortable saying, hey, Warren, guess what? This is what our customers are saying to us. When you create that leadership style that's open, that's honest, and caring, you develop a family culture that ultimately leads to a positive bottom line.
That's great. That's great. Dr. Ryan?
I agree with what everybody has said so far. So I'll just take it in a little bit of a different direction. I mean, we all learn from people. There's theoretical learning. We all learn that, all the different management, leadership theories, and so on. But most of our learning comes from the people that we're exposed to, and then the choice of, I like that or I don't like this, and what am I going to adopt as part of my particular leadership approach. And I've learned a lot through the NRA over the years. I've been involved for many, many years, and I feel very privileged, and I'm thankful that the award that I'm receiving today is named after Thad Ure, who was a good friend of mine. You know, a monumental leader in this organization and in our industry. And the things I learned from people like Thad or Walter Conti, Ted Balistreri, who I've known for 40 years, about being genuine, being nice, caring for others. You still have to get things done. You want to set an aggressive agenda, but you want to do it in a way that's inclusive, that people want to buy into it and be with you. And guys like Thad and Ted and Walter and more from this association have helped me to realize that. And also the importance of giving back to our great industry, that it needs everybody's support and effort and teamwork and strategy and collaboration. And so that's the path that I've tried to take. But I think we'll all be, readily admitting that we're always a work in progress. You know, we're never quite there. We always have to strive to do better. And it's that feeling of relentless disappointment that you could do a better job is what drives our industry and drives really good leaders, I think. You never quite have.
Relentless disappointment in myself sounds like an average Tuesday for me. You know? Definitely. We're going to jump around here a little bit. Dr. Ryan was just talking about giving back, and Gary certainly, in Mercy Chefs, unbelievable work you all have done giving back in so many communities around this nation and throughout the world. What is it you think that is unique about food as a rallying point and as a way of creating community? I think there's something very powerful about food, but I, as someone who has used food to heal communities and bring them together, super interested in your perspective on that.
Oh my gosh. All right, everybody get comfortable. This could go a while, but I'll be good. I always see something amazing happens over a shared meal. We do it as friends, we do it as family, but when you're there facing somebody that's had probably the worst day of their life, they want hope and comfort. They want to know that they haven't been forgotten. And to do that over a shared meal is what drives me. And it's the place that we've seen the success with where we've worked. It also makes it very important that you're not just putting stuff out of a can on a plate and saying, I kept you alive.
Mm.
That was the birth of Mercy Chefs. I saw that after Katrina, and I said, this is not the way that you should feed people that have lost everything. And so our focus is on handcrafted, chef-prepared meals from scratch. We put a lot of love in this, and that's what we want people to feel when they get that meal from us. We want them to feel hope. We want them to feel comfort. We want them to know they haven't been forgotten, and somebody loves them enough to come and cook them a handcrafted meal.
Beautiful. I love that. Jerome, thinking about my own really weird career, there were a couple of moments early on of folks who took an interest in me or had an impact on me that really I'm so grateful for now in hindsight and in retrospect. And for you, has there been someone or something that happened for you along your journey that was particularly impactful to you in your life trajectory?
I thought about this a lot over the last few weeks, and I would take more time than I have if I listed all the people that impacted my life, from the mentors early on, all the programs in the community, my best friend's family. Borderline took me in at the age of 16 and allowed me to finish high school and get into junior college, which was a big help in getting to where I am today. And I think that's a big driver of why I'm so passionate about the work I do. Every role I've had, director, senior director, VP, as opposed to people are going to come to us and ask for support, because we're the backbone of communities. We are, the sports team needs support. We're there. We are the associations doing a fundraiser. We're there. This group needs our help, so we're setting up and passing out items. But not just being reactive, having goals for what we're going to do, how we're going to give those funds out. Working with Talkalicious right now, we just launched a school program, and 10% of sales on Mondays are going back to San Francisco Unified School District. And knowing how little I had growing up in government housing in Oakland, to now be on the other side and to give that back to others, and to be in a position that I know my work, when I sell well, I'm creating hours, I'm creating opportunities in the community. I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. Warren, you were selected as this year's Inclusion Champion because of your long-standing dedication to building inclusive workplaces and in communities. Tell me a little bit about inside, what inspires you, drives you each day to do this incredibly important work.
You know, if I'm completely honest, I should probably give you the award back because we've not had an inclusive program. We've never as a company sat in a room and said, what are we going to do about diversity, equity, and inclusion? It's just happened as a part of our DNA. We have as our guiding principles, the last one is do the right thing, do the best you can, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. To me, that's our DE&I program. If you hold to those principles and that belief, and you approach every situation from that perspective, you will end up with a very diverse workforce, a very inclusive workforce. And what should drive that ultimately is the fact that you're trying to better serve your customers. If you have diverse customers, then naturally you should have a diverse workforce and diverse management team, because you have to be reflective of your customer base. I have sat on boards of public companies, and obviously we have very strict DE&I programs and so forth, but those are sometimes difficult to really execute unless you get underneath the program and really address the culture and tie that back to the P&L. Just recently, we have said in the company, DE&I, because it's been so front and center in the press. When we talk about what does it mean in our company, diversity equals income. That's what we say. If we're diverse, we're going to make more money. One person said diversity equals innovation, and the two go hand in hand. So we're not talking about counting the numbers. How many do we have of this category or that category? We're talking about how can we better serve our customer so that they feel comfortable coming to our operations, whether it's a college campus or corporate account or a restaurant. And we found that that's been the secret to the success of the company.
That's great. Thank you. Dr. Ryan, Culinary Institute of America, someplace so many want to be at and have the opportunity to attend. Awesome opportunity for you over the years. Responsibility too, right? And because you have a whole generation after generation that you've been able to connect with their lives and raise that future hospitality workforce for this industry. Hospitality can be a funny word sometimes, but when you think about it, about bringing it alive and you reflect on that, the importance of hospitality, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think what it means to all of us is trying to make our customers feel welcome, comfortable, appreciated, at our best, have them feel loved. And, those are kind of the basics of hospitality. Beyond that, if we can surprise and delight them, then that'll take us to even greater levels. But I have been privileged at the CIA to generate now several generations. So I'll just tell you what I think about the current generation, because there's a lot of discussion about that and also about what's going on in colleges. CIA is a college. It's not, quite the same as Harvard or Yale and what's going on at some of those institutions. But we've got a lot of college kids, and people worry about the state of the youth. I'm not worried about them at all. They're tremendous. They're the best generation I've seen right now that we have at the CIA. And it's interesting that, I'm a baby boomer, and the baby boom generation, there's quite a few baby boomers in here, and then younger generations. But, baby boom now is between 60, the youngest, and 80 years old. And I hear particularly a lot of baby boomers say, these young kids. We were the worst generation. We were terrible. God bless our parents, the greatest generation who survived the Depression and fought the World War II. And then we came along with sex, drugs, and rock and roll and protesting on campuses, burning the flag and all that. Now we're looking back and saying, these kids are terrible. I don't think so. I don't think so. The students that we have nowadays, and we ended up okay. By the way, I didn't do any of those things. It's sweeping generalizations are dangerous. I was very good as a young person, but the students that we have today are dedicated. They're knowledgeable. They're passionate. They're much more worldly than we were in every way. In part because of the internet and the digital age. So I'm very, very optimistic about the young people today. They're young. We have to help them. We have to help teach them what hospitality is and help them find their way and mentor them and help to nurture them along. They're going to be great. They're going to surpass all of us.
Love that. Okay. One last question. I'm not going to call in any of you. You can all jump in or out in any order you want. But what advice would you give to the rest of this room and to folks in the industry who are coming up behind each of you about giving back to people and giving back to communities along the way in your professional journey? And whoever wants to speak to this, I welcome you to just speak up and go.
I'll jump in here. It's somewhat ironic that I'm getting a leadership award, being that I was passed up for promotion opportunities 6, 7 times early in my career. And each instance had a reason why I wasn't ready. And I realized, and I don't know how I realized this, but I could go into the community and donate my time and give back. And by helping others, I was also helping myself. I don't have leadership skills. Let me go to a local library and teach people how to sell, how to network, how to set goals. I don't have XYZ. Let me go over here and find that. let me go get my master's degree so that you can't say I don't have that foundation. And you get to a point where the excuse is, you realize it's time to move on to something else. But I think I would tell people coming up after us that you have more control over your career than you realize, that a no doesn't have to be a no. A no can be a wake-up call sometimes to do more, to find more, that there's no barrier you can't overcome. I'm sitting on the stage out for an award that is still mind-boggling to me, and I'm still very emotional about. And I think limiting yourself is the biggest mistake you can make. So just keep pushing forward. And the more you give back to the community, I have a goal monthly of how many hours I'm going to volunteer, and I have yet to miss that target because it's very important to me to enrich others the way I was enriched. And I feel like it's somewhat self-serving in that I feel like I get more out of it than I give, but it's definitely served me well.
I'll jump in. Growing up in the rural part of Virginia, we spent a lot of time in church. The one verse I remember was, "To whom much is given, much is required." If you look at the people in this room and look at the people whom we interact with, we've all been given a great life. We've been given and supported so much in our lives by others. None of us got here on our own or by our own virtues. So therefore, we have an obligation, a debt to society to give back. And it's a debt that can never be fully paid. When I started this company 32 years ago, I had 3 objectives. One, to make it a family business, brother and sister join, take care of my parents as long as I had them. I could check the box on that. But the last one was that I would give back to my community. And I can never say I can't do a little more or I can't give more. That's an open invoice that will yet to be paid, that is yet to be paid and will never be paid in this lifetime.
That's great.
I would add that in my experience that I'm sure everybody here is too, nothing is more fulfilling than helping somebody else and helping other people. The dividends that you get from that and watching them or a group grow and prosper and evolve is just tremendous. And that was another one of the revelations in my life. First at that dish table, hey, this is the industry for me. I want to be a chef. That was the beginning of my career path. And then I was on that path, and my predecessor, Ferdinand Metz, who many of you know, recruited me to come to the CIA to start this new thing at the time that was American cuisine. And this was in the early 80s when people, even in our industry, scoffed at the notion that there was such a thing as American cuisine. It's hard to believe it wasn't that long ago, but like, American cuisine, what is that? There is no such thing. Once I came and started to teach at the CIA as part of that effort, I really experienced firsthand what it was like to mentor and to help young people on a daily basis. And that was the moment of revelation for me. Like, I can help change the industry. There's nothing I can do is going to be more impactful than staying here at the CIA. And so I, right then and there, dedicated the rest of my career to doing that. And it has been a true blessing and unbelievably fulfilling.
I get asked all the time, why do you do this? Why did you leave a corporate managing director position to do this? I mean, why do you do this? Well, I know all the reasons why I do it. I think the biggest mystery to me, as rewarding as I find it, is why don't more people do this? Everybody can give something, whether it's your time, your treasures, or your knowledge. Everybody can give something. And it still is a mystery to me. I don't know why more people don't do this. I'm having like the time of my life. This is a ball. I can't imagine doing anything else. Try it. You'll love it.
I think especially in this day and age, there are so many programs that went to online during the pandemic that still have online opportunities. NIFTY, which was mentioned during my opening. I work with a group called careervillage.org, where it's just high school students saying, I have no idea what to do, help me. And you can answer a few questions while you're on a plane or while you're waiting. There's no excuse not to give back.
I want to thank each of you for your wisdom,
I want to thank each of you for your investments in this industry. I want to congratulate each of you on your awards, and thank you for being here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen. Quick picture.